Patrick?
Hi, Sammy. Nice to see you again.
Yes, it's nice to see you too.
Have you been? Did you see the rain?
My dear, the rain saw me. I didn't just see it; it saw me. Yeah, it was wonderful, and for the most part, it was crazy.
Yeah, apparently that's why we turn our wound into wisdom. Well, because every time we have an experience, it's supposed to shape our thinking process to check whether we are really doing the right thing. For instance, I mean, people can't even clean. People can't clean their gutter. They're waiting for government, but it's not government that dwells there or lives there.
Rain that everybody's managing, I've used it and do wisdom, Mr. Patrick. Where are we going with all this? How did the flood affect you? Did you have an experience?
Yeah, because my friend's house were affected, so I had to be part of the rescue mission as well. So, yeah.
Great. Well, hopefully things get better.
Oh, yes. I wish, we could use those as planning experiences.
Indeed. Now, speaking about experiences, the promised future.
The promised future.
That's the conversation for
That's
today.
the conversation.
Why?
Well, Sammy, is the future designed or the future defaulted?
Huh.
We need to sometimes ask ourselves these questions. Where am I going with my future? Is the future created or the future is end? So, the future is now. I recall that the Nigerian future was mortgaged in 1983. A lot changed from that year, 1983. I'm not going to call them, but it's a reference point. Our value system eroded. That's exactly what we are getting. So I like to reference my source, and it says, the writer of Revelation chapter 2 verse 23 said, I x-ray, that means I search, I explore every motive, the innermost being, and make sure I give to each one what they work deserve. I give to each one what their works, mark the word works, deserved. And it was penned down by Moses in Deuteronomy 13. He said, I am now giving you the choice between life and death, between God's blessing and God's curse. I call heaven and earth to witness this choice you make. And he said, choose life. So your future is in the power of your choice. Look, I'm coming soon. My reward is with me, and I will give to each person according to what they have done. Done, mark the word done. What are you doing? So that's why I said the future is now. So the future is really created or designed. That's my thought. The best way to predict the future is to create it.
That's right.
A former president said it, of America. This statement paints a clear picture of a man who live wholeheartedly. I liked always that word, believe. It's what you become that you attract. Wholeheartedly, it's thinking with the heart and remaining steadfast in his dream, in staying consistent and persistent, and never giving up no matter what trials or tribulation might be faced. When you consider about the future, what picture comes or flood your mind? Is it with fear? Is it with anxiety? Is it with doubt and cynicism? Is it with resignation? Or is it with hope? Or is it filled with assumptions or worry? Now, worry of the future is an indication of knowledge gap. Each time somebody worries about the future, it plugs into darkness. That means that you do not know. So to acquire the promised future, one needs to have faith and intelligence to cope with any kind of circumstance. The promise to acquire the future, you have to have faith and intelligence to cope with any circumstances. Now, what affects our future, Sammy? Number one is a disengaged life. And this is what they call the heart of life. When people are hurt, long-term sickness, betrayals, meaninglessness, making effort that seems not to yield its potential, lack of meaning and motivation. You know, there are people who, from childhood, they disengaged their future. They didn't see because they were a houseboy and a house help. Okay. And the people they lived with consistently abused them and told them they would not amount to anything. And it resides in them. There are also people who are hurting because of certain event of life. Just 1 day or 2 days of life colored their future. And what happened is that they are disengaged from life. Have you heard some people, what is it, Seth? What are we struggling for?
Yeah.
They can't keep themselves, there's nothing. What are they supposed to do? Proactive thinking. It means that you have to have a new pattern thinking. You need to examine the old assumption and belief. You need to explore new ways of approaching that old situation. Yes, this happened, but how? You start thinking differently. And that different perspective will create a new entire experience completely for you. What about what affect the future? What they call the resigned life. Resigned life are the control freaks. The control freaks they want to control outcome. They are attachers. They attach meaning to everything. And these are people who have fixed mindset. Things has to be done in a certain way. You know, the mother still want to control the children the way she was controlled in their days. They want to train the children the same way they were trained. No, our challenges today is different. Your challenge was different. So we need to upgrade our character method of building children or schooling.
But wouldn't you say that's a person of order?
Wouldn't
you say that's a person of order? Someone who attaches meaning and tries to, put everything in their place. Just as you said, the resigned life. Is that not a person who understands what they should do?
And that's why most companies are closing, because they flow in order without dynamics. They have order, regimented. Do you understand? But they don't follow. You see what happened during the COVID days?
Yeah.
Most old generation churches were orderly, but they were not coping with the dynamics of the reality. Do you understand? Yes, that order should explore you. What about circumstances? Now you're dealing with events that you have no control over. So what if it comes? That's why most schools, they were not prepared. Do you understand? And so they couldn't afford. You see what we're doing, catch up. Nigeria were not prepared as well too.
So is it wrong to attach meaning to everything?
No, it's not wrong, but it has to be open. We don't attach, but you're open. The different thing about life is that it's fate, because you are not in control of all the circumstances.
True.
So a lot of new things can interrupt what you have. So order is my ability to adapt into that new reality.
All right.
Yeah. So now they control resigned life. What do they have? They show acceptance. They don't show acceptance to anything, because you see, they can't control anything. So what do you need? A resigned life, inspired life. Aim, believing in yourself. Then the other one is frustrated life. These people are upset with life experiences. They are angry, they are annoyed as a result of being unable to change or achieve something. They are complainers because everything they put their hand is not working. They marry, it doesn't work. They are competitors. They are ever looking about other people and compete with themselves. They are avoiders. They avoid that. They don't take challenges that will challenge their new reality. They avoid long route. They like shortcut. They lack divine influence. What do they need? They need innovation. Now, I like this one. They negotiated out. Nigerians were negotiated out. Right? We took corruption for influence. Meanwhile, corruption was mortgaging our future. These are people who exchange talent. You are supposed to be here, but because of the fame attached to the talent, you are unhappy, then you're negotiated out. There are people who deal on weeds. The weeds not knowing that where they are mortgaging their life, it will be under Rumola Bridge. Because now they are now exchanging weeds for influence or satisfaction. These are the people, pleasure seekers. Okay. Now, they don't want to entertain pain. They are focusing on pain, so they are negotiating their future out. These are people who are alcoholics. These are sex drivers. These are negative. The people who are very negative. They see no good in anything. So they negotiate out their future. What they are doing now currently is actually negotiating their future out of them. You know how somebody drop out of school, or you have a carryover, and you are lying to everybody you have graduated. Meanwhile, you've not graduated. You were supposed to go to law school. You didn't go to law school because you have a carryover. Now everybody is in law school, and you are posting everybody. You are supposed to do your clearance. You didn't do that clearance, and now you are negotiating your future out. Come on, that's what it negotiate out means. What do you need? You need creativity. Possibility. You need to regain. You need to reparent your thinking. You need to reassess. You need to evolve. You need to remind yourself that you have an expanded mind. How do we prepare for the future? Commitment to knowing. Commitment to living the known. Commitment to serving and communicating the known. So, what is the future determined? It's performance. What are you doing? Sammy, what are you doing? Your current performance, to a large extent, would be the measurement to your future. Performance will give you what they call the dream port, what they call the influencing dream. And that's the pool of the future, because the momentum will continuously drive you. Because if you have not achieved that goal, you won't rest. Even the demons will wake you up to say, hey, this is a goal that you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other one is relationship. Relationship with source, relationship with self, relationship with service. What service Nigeria rendering? Consumption. What service are you rendering now? That will determine your relationship. That's what they call the character upgrade. You have the process improvement. Then the last one is what they call display. What are you known for? What is your structural disposition? What is your system strength? What's your brand? What's your reputation? If you don't have these, how do you create a future? That's why in standard, we're redefining the performance standard. Can we challenge our conclusion? Who told you that there's no future in Nigeria? There's no future. Challenge that conclusion. Go deeper. Ask questions. We can change the undesirable because we consistently refrain from the old pattern. Because we're conscious of value we bring in. Because we dwell in goodness and we experience goodness and we serve goodness, Sabi. That's how we're going to design and create our future.
Okay. The promised future. Where am I going with my future? Is the future designed? Your future is in the power of your choice. The future, you said, is created or designed. Worry of the future is an indication of knowledge gap. I was going to ask questions around that, but further down the conversation, explanations to those questions came through. Now, what affects our future? Disengaged life, the resigned life, which we talked about, attaching meaning to everything, not showing appreciation, not showing acceptance to anything. The frustrated life, they're upset with life experiences. They avoid pain, I think you said.
And long-term planning.
Pleasure seekers don't want to entertain pain, so they negotiate their future. The future, you said, is determined by performance. And then there's relationship with source, self, and service. This will redirect you. And then display what you're known for. What is your brand? I like that. What is your brand? So, if you say that the future is created or designed, I agree, because I've seen it work. I've seen someone come from nothing to become everything they wanted to be just by redesign. And if you believe that in a couple of years or in what we see as the future, you're going to be something, then the steps you take today would very likely determine whether or not you'll be that. But let's look at the part of the future that is not designed. The part that you do not have power over. The things that your action or inaction will not affect. Does that make it any less your future?
Yeah, future will definitely show up. You know, when I started the conversation, I said two things that I need to acquire the future is faith and divine intelligence.
Okay.
To help you navigate any circumstance. Now, you see, this is why we don't attach. You know, we talked about order, and you talked about is a pattern. Yeah, it's good to have a pattern because it's a direction. It drives you to a particular, disciplines you in that cause. But hey, you have to be open. You can't determine that you won't have an accident when you buy the car. God forbid. What if you cut your fingers? Will you be able to adapt? And this is why people resign. Oh, I lost my fingers. Oh, I was born this way. And they resign to life. But we know we have time and time. We have seen people who had an accident. What if, for instance, you don't control sickness, but yet that sickness, you can find meaning and purpose inside of it?
Okay.
Do you understand? So people don't have what they call the elevated thought or a speculative thought. Speculative thing is that they create pictures of events within your mind, and you profile solution, what they call the precast solution.
Like what insurance will do.
What insurance will do.
Yeah.
So they will look at all the possible, the HSC people, they call it the risk analysis. They talk about all the risks that possibly could involve.
Probabilities,
so
possibilities,
Yeah. But in life, unfortunately, even those people who are promoting all those risk, when they come to their personal life, they don't do risk analysis. What if my children decide to abandon me? What if my children that I'm investing all my money or I'm building this big house decide to say this house is old, we can't come back from where we are?
You realize that the risk analysis for a human being would be voluminous. You cannot, because there are so many sides to us. If you're doing it in your workplace or your department, I dare say it's a bit easier than when you're doing it to your person, because there's the spiritual side of you, there's the business side of you, that's your personal life. There are so many departments of the entity called self that you might not be completely able to do a comprehensive risk analysis of yourself.
And this is where we're coming in standout, right? What is your influencer? You know, we talk about governor. Now, for instance, I'm learning about it. Everyone must say, I dwell in goodness. And my core value is goodness.
Okay.
So I approach life from good point of view. So whatever circumstances, you know, I was thinking about it over the week. When something happened, what people call negative, I'm going to connect it and relate with it from my point of digging deep to find a good in that. So it changes the dynamic, the dimension with which you relate with events and circumstances. So when they come, you're apparently not going to think about it from a negative point. You say, what good can I come here? Because don't forget, what life is all about is experience. How do you connect experience to your higher self and to your higher goal?
Okay. Well, for whoever is looking to do the risk analysis for themselves, they have a lot to cover.
You see, this is why core values comes in. If you have core values, that is how you relate with yourself. So when we say in standout, right, discover who you are. Own your life. Own it. Life shouldn't own you, you should own it. Okay. And choose how to express your life. That express is your connection to events and circumstances and people.
Interesting. What is happening with standouts?